Mick Corrigan here from Action Coach with another UK Business Spotlight. And today I'm delighted to introduce you to Martin Bissett. Martin is the founder of the Bissett Group. Welcome, Martin. Great to meet you and great
And
to
you
have you on
too,
board.
Mick. Thank you very much for having me.
Super. So tell us about the Bissett Group. It sounds very exciting.
Yeah, well, I'm not as exciting as the word, but a group of companies made up of businesses that I started and businesses that I've become involved in, all of which serve the accounting profession. But I'm not an accountant, neither is anybody in my organization. We typically provide value to accountants in the areas where they are not already strong. So I would never dream of ever going to an accountant and say, I'll show you how to do tax returns. They spent 4 years qualifying for that. But accountants often start up a practice without tremendous commercial knowledge. And so the reality of running an accounting practice, such as how do we win new clients? How do we market? How do we hire people? How do we keep people? What about client retention? What about pricing? All those typical commercial topics aren't native to the accountant, and that's where the support is required.
So you're focusing on that area. It's a niche, therefore.
Yeah,
Um,
even a micro niche, perhaps. Yes.
yeah. I was going to say what makes you stand out, but you might not be comparing yourself with anyone else, do you?
Hopefully peerless. But if I had to answer the question directly, what makes us stand out? Very unapologetically, it is track record. 27 years in now, although only 13 and a bit as a solo or as a in my own businesses. I also had a long apprenticeship as well. But track record, the accounting profession really values people who stick around a long time and who can be counted on year in, year out to show up and be there. And because we can demonstrate so many evidences of what we've achieved, that breeds trust. So I would say that anybody can make marketing claims, but very few have got a track record which is unparalleled. And our track record's up there.
Right. So you're offering that reassurance and proof.
Third party evidence, really. Don't believe those, believe them, sort of thing. And when you're pointing them in the direction of their own professional colleagues, accounting is not a big world. Word gets around quickly if you're good, bad, or indifferent.
Hmm. And how are things progressing for you?
Well, I would say and how I would qualify that is there was really two models in my business, the pre-COVID and the post-COVID. In the pre-COVID, I was what I refer to as the internet marketing cliche. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's a consultant. Yeah, you and everybody else. But that was my business. Guy for hire, essentially. I wrote books. I would tour behind the books. People would come to the shows, and you get consulting gigs on the back of those shows. That was the model, and you couldn't do that in COVID. And so I had to think, right, so what do we do now? And I got a superb piece of advice, which really did hit me between the eyes, and I followed that advice, and I ended up building businesses for other people to run, as opposed to trying to be the guy. So when you step back from being the guy and you don't need to be the guy anymore and let other people shine by providing opportunities for them and platforms for them, that is an infinitely more successful model than the internet marketing cliche model that I had prior to COVID.
So what does the future look like?
Well, a mixture of things. Me increasing my shareholdings in various businesses, but stepping back from day-to-day running. So increasingly, I am able now to let go of the reins, which is a very good idea in lots of different ways. It's difficult for a business owner to do that because often they're very protective. They think that they know best. No one else could run it like I do. And that's true, but perhaps people could do it better. And my job is to really be an overseer, continue to produce content, because that content, fuels the businesses in terms of what we can sell. But to not have to be responsible for operations and sales and marketing and admin and hoovering the floor in the office at the same time. There are now other people who can do that.
And what impact will that have for you and for the businesses, do you think?
It'll get me more towards the financial independence or financial freedom model that so many of us pursue, where you're not necessarily ultra rich, but you're also not having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and join the M6 either. You have the ability to go, it's Wednesday, it's raining, I don't fancy it today, I can afford not to. And maybe you can afford not to for lots of different rainy Wednesdays, but eventually you'll have to do something. Really, I'm looking to get towards that point where the businesses are providing value for our clients and customers. That's the most important thing. Them providing strong standards of living for the people who are running them, and allowing me the freedom to dip in and out as I please.
Sounds great.
It's the dream. Getting there is another matter altogether.
So what are the challenges then along the way?
Oh, so many challenges. I don't even know where to start with that one, Mick. I'll go with the first three that come to my mind. Obviously, market challenges, competition entering to what you do and knocking the bottom out of the price, for example. So you have to rethink your model because your model no longer works because you're now having to sell at a lower level. That's a constant threat, and that never goes away, and you can never become complacent that you've got a monopoly on something. Secondly, people changing their minds, and saying they don't want to do this anymore, or quite frankly, incompetence being an issue as well, or being poached, or whatever it happens to be. So people are always, or quality people are always at a premium, and I think your entire audience will listen to that and go, "Yep, us too. That's the same for us." And I think the third major challenge is to avoid becoming complacent when the bank looks good. So when you look at your bank balance, you go, "Oh, that'll do nicely." Okay. The danger then is to take your foot off the pedal at that point and go, "Hey, I've made it. It's over." And that's really not the case. And I think the discipline of keeping at it, even when things are pretty comfortable, is a rare skill and a critical skill for ongoing prosperity in your businesses, because they all need feeding. They all need investment at some points. They all need upgrades of tech at some point, upgrades of marketing at some point, whatever it happens to be. And so I don't think you could ever really take your foot off the pedal. You can just you can just delegate better and let very talented people take your businesses further than you could have taken them by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask you what your learnings are, but those three might be learnings as well. Is it?
Yeah, amongst that, yeah, I think in learnings, the major one, and this will sound like a contradiction, Mick, I have learned that I'm not nearly as good as I thought I was, and I'm also a lot better than I thought I was, depending on what we're talking about. So I think it's Bill Gates that says everybody underestimates how far they can get and overestimates how fast they can get there. And I would say that's very true for my businesses. It always takes a lot longer than I expect, but we always do a lot more than I thought we could do. And I am not the answer to everything. I can't do everything. In fact, there's very few things I can do extremely well. I think one of my major learnings is playing to strengths. Work out what you're good at, do that stuff, and get everybody else to do the rest of it.
Good show. Yeah. I know over the journeys that you had over the decades, I guess. If you could turn the clock back and do it all again, is there anything that you might do differently?
Yeah. One thing comes straight to mind here. Number one, I would have, and this is ironic given who I work with, I'd let my accountant have had much more say in how the business was set up at the start. I think a lot of us are very good at what we do, not necessarily great at running a business doing what we do. And therefore, we're not necessarily financially literate. We don't know what a P&L is or a balance sheet or how to interpret them. We haven't run a cash flow forecast. We don't know what provision to make for tax or when it's due or how it works, whether that's corporation tax if you're a limited company, income tax, or whatever it happens to be. And all those things can really impact cash flow. And all of a sudden, you go from being on top of the world to being Brassic in 6 weeks. How the hell did that happen? Because you're not financially literate. And my accountant, after I proved I couldn't do it for myself, got involved and set me up with budgets, forecasts, management accounts, regular reviews, and gave me control and taught me how to use those things. And had I ever known the power of them, that's what I would have started with.
Great advice. Great learning to share. Martin, thank you very much. That was brilliant. And I wish you all the best
I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.